All right, welcome everyone to From the Ground Up. John Boytnott here as always, and the show that we have on the Grit Daily Network here, where we talk to entrepreneurs all over the world about their companies. The hope is that folks out there can get some information on how to run their businesses better. And today I'm joined by Ethan Williams, the CEO of Quantide Growth Partners. Hi, Ethan. How are you?
Great, great. Thanks, John, and thanks for having me on.
All right, you're coming to us all the way from Connecticut. How's the weather over there? Here in the Bay Area and San Francisco area, it's pretty good. It's like in the 50s. It's not too cold.
We're having your typical weather. It's like gray and misty and
Do
yeah,
you have fog over there?
yeah, yeah. It's a little foggy today.
Sounds good. Well, today's a big day for Quantide Growth Partners. You guys have some announcements that you want to get out there, but also before we even do that, just tell us about yourself and just tell us about Quantide Growth Partners, and then we'll go into those announcements.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a pricing leader for over a decade, and at companies like GE and PwC and McKinsey, and along the way, I took notes. I took lots of notes, thinking like, oh, one day uh, I'll write a book. And then this whole AI thing happened, and I started playing around with, well, what if I load this in the back of some AI, right? Like, and I and it was, that was a very early prototype, but it was like giving me better answers, right? And it was like kind of talking to a pricing professional.
Mm.
And at the same time, you know, you got to be you got to be fairly large, call it like a billion to 2 billion, to be hiring big four or McKinsey type consultants. And so I have a different cost model because we're AI native, and we help small to medium sized businesses who have never had access to this lever before. That's why we call it democratizing pricing.
Very good. So you basically found a gap in the pricing landscape here, and it sounds like the goal of QGP is to try and give more companies access to a pricing professional. For those who aren't that familiar with that, tell us what the value is in that, and tell us how that can help a company.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think I'll use an analogy. I'm a sailing analogy. 'Cause I'm a sailor, and
Nice.
if you were to say to me, "Hey, show me how to sail," I could put you in the boat, and I could hand you one line and hand you the tiller, and I could say, "When in doubt, let it out." Right, and you could you that just means like if you're getting blown over, you let the sail out. You could sail a lifetime that way, right? I think that's where most small to medium businesses are in their sophistication with pricing. Their rule is, when in doubt, discount, right? But if you were to say to me, "Hey, how do you optimize the performance of this boat?" Like, I'll show you 10 levers, like right in front of your face, that will that are easy to implement and have big impacts on top line.
Very good. Okay, well, let's talk about the latest announcement that you had. QGP is launching a beta of its digital pricing officer. So, talk to us about that announcement and also some of the more recent events that have occurred for the company that led up to this.
Yeah, yeah, sure. This is 2.5 years in the making. Building this tool. But earlier this year, we made an acquisition, and we acquired a small consulting firm that we believe had the largest private library of proprietary pricing information that's like never hit the internet. And it's going back to those early days of playing around with my notes in the background. Well, we acquired 2 million pages of proprietary data, and we have codified 300 different common pricing questions or scenarios. And so the digital pricing officer is the self-service version of our offering, and you can go in there and you can load your specific company information or situation, and you can run trained workflows. So it's like very different than just typing into OpenAI. You can run workflows against proprietary information and data and match it up with your situation. So it'll come back and say, hey, here's what the case law says. Here's what our various case studies say. Here's what benchmarking says. And all of that is at the power of your fingertips.
What's sort of the advantage of trying out this new digital tool? So, what's the what's it going to bring a company by taking advantage of this tool? What are some sort of scenarios that you can see out there helping a company?
Yeah, I mean the biggest one is pricing your product to value. It's something that everybody aspires to do, and not many large companies do it well with pricing teams. But now you'll have separate workflows. One of the 300 workflows is around like, hey, help me to quantify and explain my value, right? And then another one will be how do I price this particular product? What metric do I put on it? What level? And at the end of that, we would hope that you can now play offense with value and price, because by default you're playing defense with cost and price. You're all like 90% of salespeople and companies explain their price by what inputs go into it, how much it costs. This is a very different conversation.
Gotcha. Well,
and that leads to more revenue.
Very good. Yeah, I'm one of the stats that you guys sent over to me is that just a 1% improvement in pricing can drive an 11% increase in operating profit. Which is going to outperform cost cutting or volume increases, those kinds of things. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, that comes from a very famous McKinsey study, and but the math is rather simple, right? Like if you take cost out, your cost is going to be a lot smaller than your revenue, right? And so it's a smaller number. If you have a price increase, it's an increase on a bigger number, but it flows directly through to the bottom line if you're doing it in a way that doesn't incur more cost. So it's this famous McKinsey study that everybody quotes, but it's just really simple math. Do you want 2% on a bigger number or 2% on a smaller number?
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, so this is all part of how you can look at pricing as a growth lever versus a finance function or a sales tool, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think with I've seen the pricing function sit with different disciplines, and so like as an example, if it sits with finance, you're probably going to have like a really good cost plus model, right? Like they're going to be very good at allocating costs and then putting a margin on top of it. Uh, that has nothing to do with who your competitors are, what value you bring, what the alternatives are in the market. Maybe do nothing is your biggest competitor.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, okay. So let's talk about some common pricing mistakes that we see out there from companies. What are some of the, when you see B2B companies out there, what pricing mistakes are sort of the big ones that you see out there?
Well, first of all, in proposals, I, I I I hit my head against the table whenever I see a proposal that is to a B2B company anywhere over $500,000 that doesn't have a value calculation or ROI in there, right? Because the buyer is going to have to defend that to somebody. You might as well influence that story. Um, that's a big one. Uh, Another one that is super easy to go out and try like tomorrow is we often put proposals together and say, here you go, here's what you asked for, and here it is, and here's the price, right? That's a yes no question. And the best way to not hear no is to not ask a yes no question. So even if they don't ask for it, present three different value, price, cost trade-offs that you'd be completely happy with living with, and saying, look, we could solve this. We can solve this in a number of ways, and that changes the conversation to, how do you want to work with us? And that's it's I've learned a lot from a guy, Ron Baker. You should read some of his stuff, but um, that's something I took from him, where I just said that is like the easiest move in the world.
Yeah, give some different pricing options for sure, and a lot of folks out there aren't doing that. Anything else from Mr. Baker that was helpful too that influenced you? But
Yeah, I think two first principles of everything that we do in pricing, I think he articulated best, which is um, all value is subjective and all prices are contextual, right? And so if you can influence the value. That's what playing offense is around that value proposition, and expressing the value of what you do. So you're influencing that subjective nature. But again, if you don't put in like a features list versus somebody else, or you just in professional services submit a rate card, the comparison they're going to make is a price to your competitor, because they have to put it in context somehow. So give them the context to do it, and you hear no less often.
what type of companies out there get the most out of working with Quanti Growth Partners? What are some of the biggest pain points, basically, that some companies bring to you when they come to you?
Uh, first is, well, I would say a couple things. One is, because of who we target, they're often still running off of founder-led pricing, which may have gotten them so far, but there hasn't been like a professional look at the pricing mechanism or levels. And so just having ignored it for a decade is the problem, right? And if you think about it, you can't do anything about your costs going up and compounding, right? And so if your costs go up every 2-3% every year, and you're not raising, and you go 3 years without raising prices, um, because those costs are compounding, that will be a significant price increase that you need to make to get back to your original profitability. Um, so I think just having never looked at it is the biggest one, and then um, AI is a big topic that clients are coming to us on, because it's actually most AI is being developed by SaaS companies, right? And um, there is a very typical SaaS model where marginal costs go down to zero, and AI actually has the exact opposite economics. Every bit of compute that you put into it costs you money. The more you let AI do on its own, like having bots talk, agents talk to each other, your costs explode there. So just implementing a logical layer cake um, pricing mechanism for AI can is a, there's I was going to say upside, but it's upside, but it's also protection against downside, because you will get squeezed with traditional pricing models.
Very good, very good. Any other types of pain points that folks are coming to you guys with, or those kind of the two of the big main ones? I know AI is obviously a huge deal right now, and I have a little bit more to ask you around that. But are there
Yeah, I
any other?
mean, I think the other one would just be value articulation, right?
Mm,
Just uh, not being able to speak in the language of um, outcomes and value, right? And that's really um, the only thing that matters in a decision within a company is, all decisions are made on at the margins. So like being able to speak about the marginal outcomes and the marginal value that you bring is um, com- small to mid-sized companies have just never sat down and thought about that.
yeah. There's been a lot of talk about usage-based pricing and AI-driven pricing, as we've just been mentioning, and value-based pricing. So, how should in your thoughts, how do you think companies should be navigating those trends without getting lost in all the hype? What are some good ways to distill it down to a easier to manage and think about type of way?
Um, well, first they could call us. We'd be happy to help. But I would say uh, start with it's very rare that value based pricing is not the answer, right? Because and let's get the definition right. A lot of people think it's taking a cut, right? Like I get 10% of the value I create. Value based pricing is more like threading a needle. It's like you know who you compete against, and you know the dimensions of competition, and for uh, where you're hunting, you know that you are the best value, and if you can prove that to yourself, you can prove it um, to your customers. So starting with value based pricing is always a good start. And then I would say, this whole AI trend is just make sure your costs or your price model scales with how you incur cost and how your uh, client incurs value.
All right, got it. Let's talk about you and your founder journey a little bit. Is this the first company that you founded and you're running as a CEO?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Talk
Um,
yeah. Talk to us about your journey and it's when you first talked about how you started this company, it sounded like it just sort of came upon you as an idea of wow, this I could really be attacking a pain point for a lot of people here, and a lot of people might need this. Um, what was it like, sort of deciding to become a founder, and what? Talk to me about what that journey was like, or is like.
Yeah, I was I was sort of um, I had always told the story of my career like I I followed good leaders and I took good opportunities. And like that got me to a certain point, right? And I just wasn't happy with where I was, and so, like a light bulb went off and was like, that cannot be the narrative moving forward. You need to lead and create, not follow and take opportunities. And
Mm.
I, I've taken that to heart, and being in control of my own destiny actually is a lot less stressful than having a paycheck that you really don't have any control over whether that thing starts or stops.
What's the toughest journey or part of the journey been so far? I mean, that what you just said actually goes against a lot of what a lot of people might find, to be the expected thing. I mean, if you're going to start a company, that's going to be a difficult road. That's going to be the one filled with challenges, et cetera. But it sounds like for you, obviously there were challenges, but what you just said is that it kind of felt more natural or felt more easy. Um,
Well, I mean, um, it's a scary thing, right? Like I have a family, and uh, you still have to provide for them and everything. But uh, being able to understand that it's scary and still act and still have a plan and still move forward, um, is just so refreshing, right? And being able to uh, maintain a focus on an outcome, and drive hard to that, is just something that has always been a part of me. And uh, you know, winds can change internally at corporations, right? Like new leadership has new priorities, and I just knew that the bet on myself to pull this off was was better than the bet of um, being at the executive level and saving for the 401k and all of that kind of stuff. The math just made more sense to me. But it's not scary, but um, I feel more in control.
Yeah, it's more of a gamble, but a gamble on yourself. So
Yeah, totally. It is, and I tell myself that often. Actually, uh, keeping the right frame of mind is like so important to just getting through every day, right? And every day before my kids go to school, we sit down and we have a routine like before they get on the bus where we talk about like um, what we're grateful for, like what was a small win from yesterday. Tell me like what's a recent big win you've had. What's something about yourself that you can brag to other people about.
parenting advice here.
Yeah, and what's your purpose for the day? And I think I do that every day, and it gets me in the right mind frame. But there are mentally tough days on a entrepreneurial journey.
Do sometimes the kids, they're in the back seat or whatever, and you're like, "What's your purpose for the day?" Do they just look at you like, "Dad, I don't have one right now. Come on." Or what are some different answers that they give you that are that are difficult for you?
They, they don't give an answer. They don't make the school bus. Um, no, they're both athletes. Like they both play competitive soccer and they're ski racing, and
Okay, how old are they? They're a little older. They're teenagers. It sounds like maybe.
my daughter just became a teenager on January 1st, and then my son is 10. But
Oh God. Okay.
so a lot of the uh, purposes are around just meeting new people on the team, or doing better than they did yesterday on a course or in a game. So, but I do take a lot of inspiration from them.
That's great. What's one of the biggest bits of inspiration that you've gotten from either of your kids?
Gosh, this actually happened kind of recently, but um, there will be moments of stress, in an entrepreneurial uh, journey, and I think I was in a moment of stress, and I probably um, snapped at something that I shouldn't have snapped at, with my son.
Hmm.
And it was almost a week later that I came back and I was like, oh man, I'd just been thinking about this, um, uh, and I just feel so bad, and I'm sorry for doing that. And and he said, hey, don't worry about it. It's in the past. If you're thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm raising a little Buddha.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. Get an emotionally mature.
yeah, yeah, but that kept me going.
Yeah, good for you, man. You must be doing a good job. Well, let's for the last couple questions here. Let's push into back into the business real quick. Well, so basically it's kind of a niche consulting expert driven type startup that you've got going, and there's a lot of people watching the show who are, I've talked with them here on the show, folks who have a certain degree of expertise in their field, and they are considering or are in the process of creating a business around their expertise and all of that. With the type of company that you have, it is similarities to that. What's some advice that you have for the entrepreneurs who are trying to put together niche driven consulting expert type startup? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I would just say you have to find either something different and unique about what you do, or or do the standard thing in a different place, right? And just so happens at Quantide we're doing both, because we're an AI native um, company, which is why we have the cost model to serve the clients we serve, and we're also um, so that's doing things a little different, right? And then that opened up a market that hadn't been serviced before. So I just think it's um, I just think, like, you don't have to have the greatest idea in the world. Start with like tweaking something, um, and that could put you on a lifetime journey.
Very good. Okay, let's take it forward. As we kind of run out of time here for the episode, we want to try and always try and ask a question about what the future looks like for the given industry. And so for pricing, how do you see the discipline of it evolving over the next 3 to 5 years, 1 to 2, 3 years, whatever, next several months? How is Quantide Growth Partners positioning itself? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So for well, I would say both for um, professional services, AI, and pricing. I have a bet. I think for professional services, um, the McKinseys of the world aren't going anywhere, but the profit pool is probably getting a little bit smaller, which causes uh, people to strike out on their own a little bit more. So you have you'll probably have lots more smaller professional services firms. In AI, I think 90% of what we see is labor arbitrage, right? Like, hey, we'll do a we have a program that makes a PowerPoint faster, or we'll make a document faster, and that can only last so long. There's no IP in that. We've built a business around IP, and I think, I mean, look, this isn't just about small to medium sized businesses, but the pricing function in general uh, probably doesn't have the seat at the executive table that it should, and it's like a struggle that every pricing uh, leader has. I think in the so it becoming more important, especially as you drive out all the costs you can drive out. You got to start looking somewhere else. And we would like to see pricing go in the direction of managed service for small to medium sized businesses. Like, let us worry about it, and then send you, like, we'll do all the heavy lifting and the analysis, and then we'll send you monthly insight reports to say, here's what we would do in your shoes. So that's the future we're trying to build.
Sounds good. And sounds like you are, making it happen slowly but surely. I wish you the best of luck with it. Okay, so just to, as we sort of reach more towards the end of the show here, how can people, you're offering the new uh, uh,
Digital pricing officer.
exactly. Yeah, I was trying to find the right words.
Yeah.
Tell us about that briefly and how people can find that and how people can get in touch with Quantide Growth Partners and all of that.
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn. There's quantidegrowth.com, and there's a sign up sheet for the beta version of the software. We've actually sold some licenses ahead of that, just word of mouth. Um, what was the other part of that question?
Yeah, just how can people get that new product, check out the new product, and how they can get into contact with you? But you already mentioned LinkedIn, and
Yes. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would say go to the. We really want to focus on use cases where we know we can deliver uh, value. So that's why we're taking it um, as a sign up list, because we don't want to overpromise. And so if you get on the list, we take a look, and we'll reach out. And if we're reaching out, it means that we we feel we can deliver 10x
Mm.
on our fees through better pricing.
And the website one more time for folks.
Quantidegrowth.com.
All right, Ethan Williams, the CEO of Quantide Growth Partners. It's been great to have you on From the Ground Up.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Enjoyed the discussion.
Sure did. Me too, Ethan. Thanks.